Hey yo, what's up? It's your boy here. Got a couple things I want to talk about. This video in particular, I want to talk about, excuse me, the rebranding of TNA, the reboot of TNA, or should I say, excuse me, Impact Wrestling. Here's the thing. I watched the Impact Wrestling episode, which had been leaked like a week ahead of time, a week and a half ahead of time for this show, so nothing was really by surprise. But yeah, so this is TNA rebranding themselves as Impact Wrestling, and to me, coming out of that show for 2 hours, which was watchable. I won't say it was great and everything else. It was watchable, for what it was. But to me, instead of feeling like, a rebirth of, a dead company, it felt more like an advertisement for WWE than it did a rebranding or rebirth of Impact Wrestling. And what I mean by that is there were a lot of WWE references. And not even references, but hell, they've mentioned WWE several times throughout the entire show. You go back to starting off in the show, first 20 minutes, you get Jeremy Borash, a guy who has been with TNA since day one, now part of the commentating team, comes out and I forgot the one guy's name, Josh Matthews. Josh Matthews, who I guess now is going to be a heel commentator. God knows we don't need that because he's already a bad commentator enough. Comes out, has an issue with Jeremy Borash being part of the commentating team. Jeremy Borash goes and says, "I have been, trained by guys like Mike Tenay, and I've learned from years. And this guy only came here because he got fired from WWE." And I'm like, okay, they're mentioning WWE. Why? And then Josh Matthews goes, "That's right, I was in WWE. I have announced alongside, calling the matches of, I think he said John Cena. I've had privilege of calling matches during the biggest wrestling event of all, WrestleMania, in front of 45,000 people. And which, by the way, I don't talk to these people here in this arena who gets their tickets for free." That right there, Josh Matthews, that whole segment right there, and this is within the first maybe 15 minutes of the show, you could completely kill your entire brand by you stating, "Oh, hey, yeah, this place that I got fired from has more people and has more branding than where I'm at currently." That doesn't make you look good because that you're basically saying that you downgraded. I mean, which TNA is a downgrade compared to WWE, but you're blatantly telling your audience, "Hey, you just downgraded from going from WWE to now Impact Wrestling. You're downgrading." And on top of that, acknowledging the fact that a lot of fans are, fans that are coming in attendance for free. Not a good thing. I want to know who in their right mind was a part of deciding this and deciding that these things that were being said between Jeremy Borash and Josh Matthews, the commentators, that it was a good idea. If you're somebody who is watching Impact Wrestling for the first time ever, and you watch this episode, why would you be inclined to watch their product? Because everything that they've done within the first 15 minutes between these commentators and throughout the duration of the show have been done nothing but referring to WWE. It's like they're trying to they're trying to gain an audience based off the WWE fans, or just mentioning WWE. Hey, we acknowledge WWE. We're not afraid to acknowledge the bigger competition like they are afraid to acknowledge us. Here's why WWE does not acknowledge TNA. Because you're not competition at all. You're a dead brand. That's all you are. That's all you will be. So there is a legitimate reason why WWE does not mention Impact Wrestling, but will mention a Ring of Honor or mention New Japan, because TNA is not worth their time. So that right there, I had a problem with already in watching the show. I'm just like, why are you mentioning these things? Why are you saying that the audience that you have are not authentic? I mean, you as a smart person, you could tell for years that a lot of the crowd members were not legitimate, true wrestling fans or just hardcore TNA fans. They were just fans that just, that's been known for quite some time, couple of years now. That's been known amongst fans. But from a production standpoint, for someone that you're trying to sell your product to, why would you address that? Why would you say, oh, hey, yeah, half these people in this arena, or maybe over half, aren't really authentic wrestling fans. They're just people we just gave free tickets to, and they just, hey, come into the Orlando studio and be a part of the show. Big problem. Big problem. So we had that. Excuse me. Kind of fast forward a little bit more. We get Zeb Coulter. Zeb Coulter acknowledges that he was Zeb Coulter from the WWE. Again, another WWE reference. You had Bruce Pritchard come out, claiming his return, and him saying that, hey, TNA is dead. From now on, we'll be, addressed and known as Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling only. And again, I say to myself, they probably should have just came up with an entirely new, different name. Because the show's been Impact Wrestling for some years now. It was always known as, and I mean, a lot of people got confused with it, but I never got confused with it. But a lot of people always figure, that TNA was rebranded as Impact Wrestling. Impact was always the show. TNA was always the company. Like you have WWE, but under the WWE umbrella, the show is Raw and SmackDown, and NXT and everything else that falls under. Same thing was like that for TNA, but that got confusing for TNA because TNA never really explained to people, hey, this is Impact, this isn't TNA. And then they still would address the company as TNA, or this is TNA World Heavyweight Champion, but this is Impact Wrestling. So that confused a lot of people. Are you Impact or are you TNA? Now they're stating that they're just solely Impact. TNA is dead. It is a dead brand. And it's like, that's all fine and dandy. But here's the thing. Impact is still somewhat connected to TNA. And it doesn't matter, how many names you may change, the font, or the name that you may change, or, different belts, or the new people you may bring in, blah, blah, blah. The lineage of that company is bad. It is bad. Yes, there's new ownership, but it's kind of like too little, too late. Like, this should have happened 5-6 years ago when Hulk Hogan left TNA. This should have happened. TNA should not have gotten to the point where they are now for this to happen. So rebranding yourself as just Impact Wrestling, it means no, it really means nothing. It really means nothing. And I find it interesting as well is that when the show starts at the beginning, they show photos. They're showing photos of past TNA stars, and their main focus was Sting, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, I think Christian, and I think they showed Kurt Angle, all this type of guys, which in fact Zeb Coulter mentioned when he came out. He was naming all these guys, Booker T and Christian and Styles and Joe and Sting and Kurt Angle. Kevin Nash, and he's like, we had all of these guys, and they all left. And again, this is a rebranding, a reboot. You should want to move away from what you were associated with and look forward. Again, not smart on TNA. Then we get on to probably another tidbit news. Alberto Del Rio, I know it's El Patron, don't really care, but Alberto Del Rio is now in Impact Wrestling. First night in, he gets the title shot against Bobby Lashley and wins. Now, I know, spoiler alert, he ends up getting stripped from the title because they said he won it unfairly. But until that episode airs, let's just go on storyline here. Alberto Del Rio made his Impact Wrestling debut and became an Impact Wrestling champion within the first night. I understand shock value that they're trying to set up, but that is not the way to go about it. Once again, for a show that is trying to remove away from the past and trying to remove themselves from, I guess you could say maybe using former WWE talent, they have a terrible job of trying to do that, because Del Rio, former WWE guy, winning the TNA World title on day one, I'm sorry, but no. And I like Del Rio. I think Del Rio's a good talent. I think he was wasted in his second comeback from WWE. I think he's done well when he was in Lucha Underground in AAA. I thought he did well. I think he's a good heel, and I don't mind Del Rio being in TNA. That's fine. Impact, whatever. But him winning the world title day one, and again, the information on this whole show was leaked out 10 days before it even aired on national television. So really, where's the shock value? Where's the pop? Pop, like the channel. So, yeah. At the end of the day, I think that this show was executed poorly. It was watchable, They even acknowledged Del Rio being a former WWE champion and a former, world heavyweight champion and Money in the Bank winner. And they were naming all his WWE accolades. And again, I just say to myself, just why? You can't be like a Ring of Honor or even a WWE where they say, hey, this guy's won a world championship all around the world, everywhere he's been, blah, blah, blah. Why do you have to mention WWE? It's like, still, at the end of the day, they are trying to make a name for themselves off of WWE, and that is going to kill Impact Wrestling or TNA time and time and time and time and time again. You guys let me know what you think. It is what it is. I'll still watch Impact Wrestling to kind of see where they're going, but to say that, hey, I'm excited or I feel, like this this is a new change, can't really say that. And not really per se because it's the new owners, because I don't think Anthem Sports has really put in their full. This is really the first episode of Anthem now being the new regime and really taking over. But at the end of the day, you still have that old guard. Bruce Pritchard, Zeb Coulter, or Dutch Mantell, his real name, who is a good booker. He's a good writer. Don't get me wrong. And the return of Jeff Jarrett. All part of the old guard still. Not under Dixie, but old guard, but under a new master still. And then secondly, this makes like the third or fourth time that TNA has had these rebrandings or beginning of a new era. Or this is how many times you're going to keep pressing the restart button on a company. I'm sorry, but anytime you have to keep going, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go with a lot of these companies, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. So I guess you could say I'm not really optimistic because, again, how many times does this make TNA hitting that reset button, them going on national television saying things are going to change, this is a whole new company, this is a whole new regime, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it is what it is. But until I see anything different, TNA is still going to be the same to me. And I'm still calling it TNA, even though they just rebranded themselves as Impact. It's still the same company to me at the end of the day. You guys let me know what you think in the box below. Comment, subscribe, peace.